Geographical socialize. Social means they put some caste people will only live in a community in a only specified location, and they will talk to themselves only. They won't talk to others. They will marry only their relatives with same community only. That is social isolation. Over time, the gene pools of isolated population, gene pool of isolated population diverge, okay, from each other by gradually acquiring different mutations. They will undergo different mutations. As a result, there will be a random genetic drift. As a result, there will be a random genetic drift, okay. As a result, there will be a random genetic drift, okay. When the populations of dissimilar environments, that is one different climatic locations, environmental stresses are often the not same. When the populations are in dissimilar environments, environmental stresses are often not the same. These are the causes of the environmental changes. Next, as a result, nature selection for different traits existing within the gene pools now cut off of the populations, okay. As a result, nature selection for the different traits existing within the gene pool of now cut off for the populations, okay. Now we move on to the continuation of the adaptive radiation. That is, over time the population genetically diverge enough so that they cannot no longer reproduce with each other, okay. They will change to the condition, population genetically diverge. That is, only the final step will be occurring diverge enough so that they no longer reproduce with each other, okay. At this point they have become separate species, and usually continue to diverge in subsequent generations, okay. At this point, at final point, they will become a separate species. They will continue to the subsequent generations, okay. Subsequent generation and intermediate stages. The two newly are about to be separated species may be able to interbreed, produce children, offspring, but most of them are likely to be sterile. If one species is producing final species, okay, final species. In between there are two different species which are two new differently species are producing before the final stabilized species. They can interbreed, but the offspring is mostly sterile condition. Female horses and male donkeys. Example, mules. Female horses and male donkeys. Example, mules. Okay, female horses and male donkeys. Example, mules. Eventually, however, species genetically diverge so that they are unable to produce any offspring. Sheep and cattle. Okay. Some example they have given, genetically diverse so that they are unable to produce. Sheep and cattle genetically diverse, but they will not produce any offspring, okay. Interbreed also they cannot produce offspring. The process of adaptive radiation resulting in branching evolutionary pattern is called as cladogenesis, okay. Cladogenesis, that is adaptive radiation that is branches different species. This is called as a cladogenesis, okay. Cladogenesis, remember this one, cladogenesis. Next, continuation with the adaptive radiation, a pictorial. Adaptive radiation resulting in cladogenesis with the relation to the time. That is, one species will diversifying into two different species, okay. Two different species resulting in the formation of new species, okay. Two different species with the time factor. and these two species may adapt to the environment. Example, Darwin's adaptive radiation. Darwin finches adaptive radiation, birds, fruit, seeds, birds, fruit, leaves, insects, tooth using finch, grabs. These are the different modifications occurring from one species. Okay. Next we move on to successive speciation. Successive speciation is the evolution of species by successive speciation occurs within a single evolutionary line. Only they will not diversify. Only in the single manner they will change from one species to other. That is successive single evolutionary line without branching. That is branching. They will not, only one species will change into the another species without branching of adaptive radiation. Without branching is an important point in the successive. This takes place when the members of species consist of a single breeding population of many generations. And these two important points. This takes place when the members of species consists of a single breeding population for many generations. Single breeding population for many generations. Single breeding population for many generations. Okay. Next, descendant generations experience continuous spontaneous mutations and new directions of natural selections as the environmental changes. That is environmental. This point is relating to the environmental factors. Okay. Continuous spontaneous change in the mutations and new directions of natural change. This results in progressive changes, that is continuously changing in the genetic pools frequencies of the populations. One species continuously undergoing genetic change for the formation of new species. Okay, this is the successive speciation. Next, continuation of the function. At any one time, all the members of population are same species. That is, one species undergoes changes into genetic modification, undergoes into two species. All the members of that changes into genetic modifications undergoes into same species at one time. Okay, one species, that is okay. However, as a generation subsequently replace each other, the gene pool is transformed. Okay, continuously the genetic modification occurred, that is stabilized to the environmental condition as it evolves. Okay, eventually the changes are great enough that if descendants could go back in time to mate with their descent ancestor, the genetic differences would prevent them from producing fertile. In this point we can explain that if one organism is diversifyly changed into genetic modifications and changed into successive allelation, that is second species has came from the first species. If it is undergoes breeding with the first species, it cannot produce a fertile offspring. Why? Because there will be a continuous genetic modifications have been occurred in the first from the first to second. Okay, they would produce different species. Okay, they would produce different species. Okay, I think you have understood till now. We can move on to the next step. Okay, the process of successive speciation results in non-branching evolutionary pattern known as agenesis. Agenesis is non-branching, no production of different. The process of successive results in non-branching evolutionary process called as agenesis. Okay, agenesis. Successive speciation results in agenesis. With the time factor, it undergoes speciation, results in only one species to different. Branching will not occur. Okay, branching will not occur. Okay, branching will not occur. Time with only one species modification, that is changes into one species to other. Modern synthetic theory, complete summary we are going to explain now. Synthesis of selectionist and mutualist models, gradualism, punctualism. Okay, evolution, change in allelic frequency in a genetic population, change in allelic frequency in genetic. Micro and macro evolution, we have discussed all these factors. Evolution of to variation and selection. Variation, that is mutation, recombinants, we are revising every point. Migrations, drift, changing, that is genetic drift. Okay, next that is modern synthetic theory summary. Natural selection acts on variation. Differential, net reproductive success. Net reproductive success we have explained. Isolation we have explained. Biodiversity, behavior, mechanical and geographical. Okay, community behavior means speciation, we have adaptive and successive speciation. Okay, extinction means extinction of species because of lack of reproductive ability of that species. Okay, basic concepts of evolutionary biology. Convergence means different species converge to one level. Okay, similar evolutionary development is unrelated organisms or those are different in direct ancestry. Could similar characters are adaptations. Okay, flying habits of hummingbird and humming moth, common search for a nectar in flowers, hovering over flower. This is an example of convergence. Okay, example of convergence. Okay, convergence ordinarily applies to one to two characteristics and not overall makeup of an organism. Only they will make up only with the characters, they will not make up the organisms. Okay, only the characters are related with the organism, they will not make up with the organisms. Okay, only rods in retina, deep sea fish, bats, some lizards, lemurs. Lemurs means tiger like organism. Okay, lemurs. Okay, next basic concepts on evolutionary band. Parallelism, convergence we have explained. Now we will move to the parallelism. The convergence is similar evolutionary behavior in the organisms which are unrelated in the ancestry. Convergence, if the convergence in similar evolutionary behavior in the organism will are unrelated in ancestry. Parallelism is similar adaptation in organisms which share common ancestry. Parallelism is a common ancestry. Organisms which share common ancestry. The term usually applied to two species of organisms that were similar in origin that remained similar at their evolutionary in two different species. Common ancestry is parallelism. Example, old world monkeys, new world monkeys will have a common ancestry, separated 35 years ago from Prosmenian ancestor. 35 years ago from Prosmenian ancestor. This is an example of parallel evolution. Okay, next homology and analogy. Okay, homology and analogy. Organisms which are similar in origin, similar in origin, not a function, are homologous. Origin is similar but function is different. These are homologous. Forearms of vertebrates, forelimbs of vertebrates. Example, forearms of vertebrates, forelimbs of vertebrates. Okay, organs which are similar in function but not in origin. Okay, but not in origin are analogous. Homologous means origin similar, analogous means function is similar. Okay, wings of birds, wings of bird, wings of insects. Example, wings of birds, wings of bird. They are similar in function, but their origin is different. Okay. Serial homology. Serial homology, two structures with the same organism. Two structures with the same organism. Example, hands and legs in the hands and legs in the men. Serial homology. Serial homology example, hands and legs in the, we can remember by example. These are simple words, these we can remember by example. Next, homology diagrams here. Hand, these are whale, this one frog, horse, lion, human, bat, bird. These are homology examples of homology. Analogy, wings of insects. Okay, completely this is a diagrammatic representation. Wings, basic concepts in evolution. This one important in the UPSC point of view. Dole's law. Dole's law, doctrine of irreversibility in evolution. Doctrine of irreversibility evolution. Example, whales. Doctrine of irreversibility of evolution. Cope's law. Lamarck's first principle. Okay, Cope's law is a Lamarck's first principle. Gauss principle. Gauss principle is principle of competitive exclusion. Exclusion means organism is moving towards the exclusion. If two organisms occupy the same trophic level in the ecosystem, they try to reach equilibrium through different strategies, reducing the other to the point of extinction. That is, Gauss law explained that two species are competing for one trophic level. One will survive and the other will extinct. Okay. Mosaic evolution. Mosaic evolution is evolution of parts and not whole, only parts. Parts, evolution of parts. Hominization, bipedization followed by encephalization. Example, hominization, bipedization followed by example. These are the basic concepts in the evolutionary point of view. Okay, I think we have done with a complete evolutionary point of the organism. Modern synthesis, Lamarckism, Darwinism, post-Darwinism, everything we have explained in the slides. Okay, and thank you. We have completion of the organic evolution. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe and like me. I think from now onwards the videos will be good.